Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, September 1st, 2023. It's about 7:30 in the morning. It's 65 degrees. Yep, it's almost cold enough where I'm starting to think about putting a jacket on. And we're in September here in beautiful Texas, East Texas. So, commentator's been asking me questions. YouTube, his name is Other, O-T-H-E-R, and he says he lives in a similar area to me, but he doesn't have green grass. He wants to know what I'm doing differently. So I'm doing a technique that is called many different things. I think the term I like the most is management intensive grazing. What that means is I am applying a lot of management to my grazing. Whoa! That means I am moving the cows twice a day into miniature pastures or paddocks, depending on what you want to call them. As I'm showing you right now what I'm doing. Now, there's a lot that goes into this technique. It's not something you can start overnight and have perfect success with. I bought this land March of 2021, I believe. That's when I bought it. And I don't think I had cows on it until June of 2021. And so this is my third year of grazing, but I've only been doing it for 2 years and a couple months. And I don't think I started rotationally grazing until probably August of 2021. So this is my second year, 2 full years of rotational grazing now. Whoa! No, don't cross the wire. You're not special pancake there. Special princess, come on. Come around like the rest of the cows. So that's kind of the high level summary. The theory, the idea behind this all is that grass has a growing cycle that if you understand and adjust your grazing to respect, you'll maximize your grass growth. The weeds have a different growing cycle that they don't like the cows doing what the cows do to grass. Okay. So to kind of sum it up, grass needs to be grazed. Grass needs some kind of ruminant. And by ruminant, I mean those animals that eat grass, which include cows, sheep, and goats. Although cows, I think, are probably the best for helping the grass grow. So cows are ideal. They're suited. They're the thing that grass needs to grow. Now, the reason why we had the Great Plains in the United States, according to my understanding of it, is that we had vast herds of buffalo moving through the plains, and they were doing their own grazing. The type of grazing that they did was they would come to a spot of ground, they'd probably stay there for half a day, and then they'd move on. And so the bison were constantly moving, and they weren't staying in one spot for more than a few hours, right? The other thing the bison were doing is they were trampling. And if you looked at the bison after they left an area, it looked like they destroyed it, right? They just trampled everything. There's poop everywhere. The grass is cut short, right? But when they come back to that same spot of ground months later, the grass is already regrown, okay? And there was enough grass that they could eat throughout the whole year, more or less, right? There obviously was periods of starvation where the bison didn't have much to eat, okay? So with the small herd like this, and without wolves and predators to chase the cows around, the only way to really replicate the results of what the bison were doing is using electric fence here, okay? This is kind of the secret sauce of why this works at all. And electric fence itself is a technique that you have to learn. It's not obvious. It won't work the first time you do it. And then you'll learn, and eventually the cows will learn, and you'll get something that works for you. So I'm trying to show you guys what I'm doing with my electric fence. The techniques are something you really can't learn from a book. I tried, and I got a lot of good inspiration, but in the end, a lot of the stuff I had to figure out for myself, which, really wasn't that bad. I'm not complaining. And I think if I could figure it out, practically anybody could figure it out. The meaning is that I'm one of these book type people that learns by books and lectures. I studied physics in college, and so the practical application of knowledge is not my strong suit, if you know what I mean. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty grass growth. I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, so we have here grass, right? Okay. This right there is soil, dirt, right? And grass needs dirt. I think that's fairly obvious. The grass will put roots down into the dirt, and these roots they're looking for moisture, they're looking for nutrients and different things like that, right? And in the process of so doing, they kind of loosen up the soil a little bit, and they help charge the soil with life. Because at the roots of every plant, there is a colony of microbes, bacteria, fungus, that kind of stuff, that's supporting the plant, and it forms like a feedback loop where the plant can more or less tell the soil what it needs, and the soil can respond by making more of those things that it needs, right? We were kind of sold a lie with fertilizer. The idea with fertilizer was that, hey, if you put this stuff in your soil, it'll make the plants grow better, which is true and false. So you will see the plants grow faster and taller and greener, but what you won't see is the kind of health that you'd expect from taller and greener plants. Because at the end of the day, nitrogen is kind of like sugar, and it's only part of the equation, and plants do so much more than make sugar, right? And so they need more than just nitrogen. But all that to say that the soil, the stuff under the grass, is super important and probably the most important part of the formula, and that should be all that you're really focused on, is how do I develop soil health? If your soil is healthy, it will grow healthy plants. If you grow healthy plants, you'll grow healthy cows. That's simple, right? You can't have healthy cows unless they're eating healthy grass. You can't have healthy grass unless you have healthy soil. There's no two ways about it. One of the things that fertilizer does, and one of the reasons why I don't use any fertilizer, except the natural kind, the manure and the urine, is the fertilizer disrupts that natural cycle that's supposed to be happening in the soil, the feedback loop between the plant and the microbes. And over a long period of time, the fertilizer can actually kill the microbes and the funguses and things that you need to make healthy soil. And nowadays, a lot of people have realized that fertilizer in and of itself is a bad thing, and they're doing things like putting in something called like humate, and concoctions of bacteria and fungus, and what is the right word? Fermented, I guess, or decomposed material, right? And they spray it on their fields, and sure enough, it works great. It works great for a time. The problem is, though, is you have to have a system that not only builds that kind of stuff, but maintains it, right? Otherwise, you're going to be back at the store buying more humate or whatever it is and spraying it all over the place again. You know, here we go. Here's some different kinds of grasses. So the next thing to know is that inside the soil, there's a bunch of seeds, all kinds of seeds. We call that the seed bank. And a lot has been written about how to exterminate seeds from your soil. But my goals are not to get rid of seeds. I'm just going to assume that there's always seeds that I don't want in my soil. Why is this spot's just dead? Oh well, I'm not too concerned about it. This is more like what my field, this is better than what my field looked like last year. So after the drought for 2 years. Okay, so the seeds, and the idea is that if the conditions are right, the seeds will sprout and you'll get the right kind of growth. And so buried in your soil, you have the seeds for the right kind of grass for your climate. There's also a lot of other things that are there to support life. And so the weeds are actually a part of the process. That's something else to think about. And this is why I'm not doing anything about the goat weeds this year. I'm just leaving them alone. Letting nature run its course. I figure nature knows more about soil health than I do. And there's a reason nature is saying, hey, goat weed, it's time to wake up. Okay. The next thing about grass that you have to understand is that grass needs to be eaten. Okay, so the life cycle of grass, let me get this goat weed out of here, is it has the baby phase, it has the teenage phase, and it has the adult phase, right? So let's look at this grass here. So this is what I would probably consider teenage phase grass, right? You can see here that it's growing, and if you track its growth, you'll see that it's actually growing quite rapidly. Because right now it has a healthy root system, it has all the nutrients and moisture it needs because the roots go deep in the ground. And the only thing that is missing from the equation is the sunlight, right? And you can see this is getting plenty of sun. So this grass right here is growing rapidly and trying to get as much sunlight as possible. And then what's going to happen is a cow is going to come by and going to nibble on this grass. And what's that going to do to the grass? It's going to tell the grass that, hey, you just got nibbled. Go to sleep for a few days and then wake up and start growing again, right? This is why grass is special and why you need cows, because that response will actually encourage grass to grow faster. At the same time, it tells the grass to put its roots deep into the soil. And the deeper the roots, the better off you are, because that means healthier soil. It also means that when it rains, the water will go deeper into the ground and you don't have to rely on, irrigation or, rain to have your grass grow. And some of the grasses that can grow in your field have been known to put roots like 10, 20 feet down. They're looking for moisture, right? And if grass can do that, then as long as there's moisture somewhere in your soil, you'll be fine, right? We haven't had rain, a serious rain, in a month, maybe a month and a half, and yet the grass is green. Top surface of the soil, you can see there's cracks, right? Deep cracks. But down below, if I grab the shovel, you would see that it's moist. And the plants are using that moisture to grow. Okay? The weeds, on the other hand, if the cows come by and they trample on a goat weed and they break its stem, let me just kind of step on that, so just to show you what that looks like. What's going to happen? Well, that weed's going to die. If the cows come by, or the sheep, and they nibble on the leaves, what's going to happen to the weed? It's going to have a hard time. Okay? The weeds respond to particular conditions in the soil. The cows and the sheep, they have a negative impact on the weed, but also the weed modifies the soil chemistry and the soil composition, and it modifies it in such a way that the weed can't survive. Right? You've probably noticed that the weeds don't tend to return. They tend to flourish and then they kind of die out and something else takes its place, right? That's part of nature's cycle. Eventually nature is going to modify the soil to such a point that trees can grow, right? That's kind of what nature wants to do, it seems. But the weeds, they fill a specific role. They're temporary, they do their job, then they kind of disappear, right? And so I don't apply any herbicide because the herbicide will kill plants that it's not supposed to kill, and it won't allow the plants that it's killing to do their job. What about the insects? You see grasshoppers flying around my field. Last year I had tons of grasshoppers. It was crazy. So a theory about insects is that they can't eat too much sugar, right? They can only eat dying plants. And when people say that they were growing a crop or something, the insects came and ate it all, their crop was not healthy to begin with, because every plant has within itself the ability to thwart insects one way or the other. And if the plant is growing the way it's supposed to grow, then it should be resistant to the insects. And so the question isn't really how do you kill all the insects, because you can't. The question is, how do I get my plants healthy enough that the insects won't destroy them, right? And in the case of grass, the formula is obvious. Let the grass put the roots down deep, let the grass grow, and have the cows come by from time to time and nibble at it, right? In the case of the weeds, well, I'm not trying to grow weeds, so I'm not giving them optimal conditions to survive. And so in the end, they're going to become insect food. Let me show you what's going on with this leaf. You tell me if that looks like a healthy plant or not. It's able to resist insect attacks. So you can see that the goatweed is being devoured by the insects. And what do the insects do with the stuff they eat? Well, they poop it out, or they die. They all become part of the natural compost in the soil. So how often do the cows come by to eat the grass? And this is something that I struggled with until this year. And I've been doing a 21-day rotation since late spring, I think, like May or something like that. Before that, I was doing like a 60-day rotation. I thought, hey, more chance for the grass to recover. The problem is I was eating grass that wasn't there. And so the grass was too damaged, and even 60 days wasn't enough to have it recover. Look, here's another weed. If a cow steps on that, snap. That weed's done for. You know, just breaking its stem there is enough to kill it. So the 21-day rotation has rewarded me, enriched me, and I think that's the only reason my grass is green, is because I was using a 21-day rotation. So I took my field, divided it into 21 roughly equal pieces, and I moved the cows through a piece every day, or rather 42 roughly equal pieces, and I move them twice a day. Okay. So today, right now, is time for this piece to get munched on. And so you can see the cows are doing the munching. And they're dropping their manure and their urine and everything else. So, yeah, that's kind of a long video, but when you analyze how grass actually grows, when you understand why cattle have been with humans since the beginning of time, and when you understand that this is the ideal situation for grass, then you start putting into practice those systems and processes that will encourage your grass to grow. So I didn't do any fertilizer, I didn't do any herbicide, I didn't do any insecticide. I've just been moving cows twice a day through my pasture on a 21-day rotation. That's why my grass is green, I think. And as long as I never let the cows cut the grass too short. Like anything shorter than this, basically, is too short, right? As long as I never let them overgraze it, the grass will be fine. If it doesn't rain for a long time, the grass will be fine. If we have a long drought and the grass drinks all the moisture in the soil and there's nothing left, and I pull the cows off so they don't eat the stubble, then when it rains again, that rainwater is going to penetrate deep into the soil and the grass will wake up and I'll be fine, right? And so my advice is to study these techniques, get an temporary electric fence system running, train your cows on it, and if you have a dead field, take your cows off of the field, put them in a sacrificial lot, feed them, hay them, whatever it takes to keep them alive while the grass grows. And then once the grass comes back, then you can start rotationally grazing them. I started with a pretty decent field, but the 2 years of drought back to back basically destroyed it. And my grazing techniques, where I kept grazing on dead grass, was not good for it. But it kind of doesn't matter, because once you figure out how to do it, the grass will grow and you'll be fine. So that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully next year we'll have even more grass, and the year after that, and the year after that. And then maybe one day I'll be able to brag about the grass that I have. But I think we're doing pretty good right now. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.